I thought we would take a look back to the 2024 season and just give our top 5 plays from Clemson football in 2024 according to us. I'll start off with my number 1. I don't think it'll be a huge surprise to anyone in the comment section. Obviously, first and foremost on my list, I'm sure it's on your list as well, Jordan, Nolan Hoosier, 56-yard field goal to clinch the ACC championship game with the wink to the sideline and the dead straight down the middle with a couple yards to spare. Just rocks that 56-yard field goal. Unbelievable. And just a storybook ending to that game and a way and Clemson won it in a fashion that no one would have ever predicted us winning it. So, and not to mention set a record for the ACC championship game with that field goal. So there you go. That's my number 1.
That's a great pick. I'm going to start from 5.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I want to build some suspense.
All right.
Although you guys might be able to guess it. But my number 5 is going to be Ashton Hampton's one-handed interception against Virginia Tech. That was just a phenomenal play. I have no idea how he came down with that ball. That was one of multiple, really great plays. And another one probably is going to show up on this list from that game. Incredible play from a true freshman. Had gotten beat the play before. People had people forget that. Like he was in good coverage, got beat on a go route. They attacked him again, and he was ready. He was in phase and made one of the more impressive plays I've seen from a freshman corner in a long time. I don't know how a kid like that gets out of the state, out of Tallahassee.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right, I'll go. I'll drop down to my 5th as well. I'll go TJ Parker. Sack, fumble, recovered it himself. Shout out to him. That was an absolute amazing play against SMU in that championship game as well. Just unbelievable, man. Not only do you get the sack, but you force the fumble, take the quarterback to the ground, and then, by the way, recover the fumble while you're at it. So just the trifecta there for TJ Parker.
That is a phenomenal pick. And it set the tone for that game. I feel like that's what people. One of the reasons that Clemson was able to get out to the start that it did, and ultimately hold on to win that football game, was you don't get that if you don't jump up 14-0 on them. Probably it's a very different game, and he took over that game. He was phenomenal. He was only a true sophomore, and he's only going to be better, presumably in 2025. So that's a great pick. My number 4 is probably going to be Cade Klubnik's 50, how many yards, touchdown run against NC State, first touchdown of the game, obviously coming off of the App State game, where he put on one of the greatest individual halves of football in ACC history, arguably the greatest, just from a raw numbers standpoint.
Yeah.
We were all
55-yarder.
55-yarder. Incredible play because that one was it was designed, but it was perfectly blocked. But Troy Stellato, I think, made the key block on that play to spring him open down, up the middle, up the seam. That was it was a great play just because. We had so many questions about what to feel about that App State game and what that meant for this offense. It's like, okay, have we really, do we actually have something going here, or was that just we played a really terrible defense and they, they're going to come down to earth, and obviously we saw throughout that game that was not the case, and Clemson really laid it on. Just an incredible performance against a team that had beat you last year. It felt really good, and Cade Klubnik set the tone there, and was like, okay, this team has a little bit, they have something different about them offensively than what we saw in the Georgia game, and what we saw from pretty much all of last year. So that was a phenomenal play.
Yeah, I'm gonna bust out another Cade Klubnik run, a 50-yarder to house it with little over a minute left against the Pitt Panthers, down by 3, late in the game, needed to make a drive to at least get a field goal and push it to overtime. Garrett Riley dials up the quarterback draw at just the right time. Amazing blocking downfield by the wide receivers, and Cade just absolutely housed it. An amazing play that really changed the season for Clemson, because you think about it, you don't get it done there, and you end up, losing that game. Clemson's season looks a whole lot differently. Huge play, I think, that was pivotal in Clemson's season, that 50-yard touchdown run at the end of regulation versus Pitt.
Great
And
pick.
the celebration when he jumped on the bench on the sideline, it was like screaming. That was just epic, man. Like the whole thing was just, it was crazy. Never saw it coming, but it was absolutely insane.
Incredible.
Yeah.
No, great pick. My number 3 is going to be Cade Klubnik's escape sack touchdown pass to TJ Moore against Virginia Tech.
Yes, that's a great one. That's a great one.
To take the lead in that game.
He harnessed his inner Deshaun Watson there.
Yeah, that was just an amazing individual effort. That was electric in a tough environment. Virginia Tech had you. It was a 7-0 game at halftime in favor of Virginia Tech after they had that blocked field goal returned for a touchdown. You weren't getting much, offensively. You did put together a touchdown drive to Cole Turner, and then you get your defense gets that stop, and you are driving. You had so many drives that just crossed the 50 and stalled out. In that game. And I believe it was a second and 10, or you were behind the chains on that play, coming out of a timeout from Brent Pry. And, you just, Cade Klubnik, takes the snap and you just flat out allow pressure basically immediately from the edge pressure immediately. And he just shakes it off from his blind side too. And he escapes the sack. It somehow stays, like he basically was turned in the other direction. And, but before he gathered himself, he was almost vertical or horizontal to the ground, uses his hand to keep himself alive, and then just fires a dart to TJ Moore, who does a great job of working himself open when he saw that the play was broken downfield. And then makes two guys miss, I think.
Did a great job. Yeah, 2 guys should have tackled him before he got in the end zone, but he kind of stops, and then they keep going, and he navigates his way to the end zone.
Yeah, I had to go with that because you took the lead, and I think that was when the life in Lane Stadium kind of went away. You could see Virginia Tech fans feel okay, we don't.
They were like, yeah. They finally got one. Yeah, it's a good one. I'm going to go in the App State game, third play of the game. I think it was a 3rd and 10, maybe. Bryant Wesco.
It might have been a 3rd and 11.
But Bryant Wesco, 76-yard touchdown pass right up the seam. Cade Klubnik delivers a beautiful ball right in stride, and Bryant Wesco just housed it. And the reason that I picked that play is the first time from a Clemson fan standpoint that we had truly seen an explosive offensive play in 3 years from the passing game. And I know that sounds crazy and funny, but it's true. And we finally saw it. And yes, I know it was App State, and they weren't a very good team this past year, and that game really ended up meaning nothing. But for me, that was the first signal that this offense had made a step forward, that they could actually be explosive, albeit against bad competition at that point. They still proved that they could be explosive. So for me, that was a very important play just from a fan standpoint to just finally see it. So I picked the Bryant Wesco 76-yard touchdown versus App State, third play of the game.
That's a great pick. A great pick, and I can't tell you how many times after that game I went back and watched that play. I still go back and watch that play. It just It's one of those things. A death that for people that were at the game, they said that was one of the loudest moments they had heard in Death Valley in quite some time.
Because it was just like 3 years of just frustration, just like melting
Release
away,
at
and
once.
just pure just excitement for like, yes, we finally got it back, right?
Yeah.
So
That you can't describe it any better. It was incredible. It was loud on TV. Like it was really incredible. That's a great pick. My number two, I won't. It already been discussed, but Cade Klubnik's game-winning touchdown run against Pittsburgh. I mean that was your season right there. We're having a lot different conversations if you don't win that game, and Cade doesn't make that play. Just a fantastic play call. First and foremost. When you're driving, you had so much success in the first half, and Pitt's defense really started to clamp down, and your defense was starting to crack. Obviously, gave up you gave up the lead on a field goal, and you had given up how many unanswered points at that point, because you were up 17-7 or something like that, and gave up like 13 unanswered.
Something like that.
To take the lead. Like there was no life. It felt like, heading into that drive, and Cade just puts together an absolute clinic, puts the ball, just managed the drive extremely well, made the right passes. And then it was the third play of the drive.
Third play of the drive.
It just and you mentioned all the things that happened afterward, the excitement, him talking trash to the Pitt fans, they had been giving it to him all game.
It was beautiful.
It was really awesome.
He just saved your season. Not single-handedly, because the blocking was fantastic on that play. The play call was fantastic, but his execute, like Cade Klubnik snatched the soul out of the Pitt fans that day. And then proceeds to go on the sideline and give it back to them, because, as you mentioned, they were giving it to that Clemson bench all day long, and they deserved that response from Cade Klubnik after that play. So what a play. All right, I'll give my last one. I think this is my last one, yes. Third on my list, Adam Randall, 41-yard punt return in the ACC championship game to set up the opportunity for us to get that little pass to Antonio Williams, and then for Nolan to bang that 56-yard field goal right through the upright. So could not have done it without that play from Adam Randall. We would not have had enough time to get into field goal range. So that was probably the biggest 41 yards of Adam Randall's career at Clemson. It was huge, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy because of all the ups and downs that he's been through, and the injuries, and getting that start game one against Georgia and not performing the way that he wanted to, and ultimately getting knocked down the depth chart a little bit by a bunch of young guys. And instead of pouting, instead of feeling sorry for himself, instead of hitting the transfer portal, he kept his head down and he worked, and he contributed in a big way, not only in that particular play, but a couple times down the stretch of the season for Clemson. Didn't have a huge role, but had a role. And then ultimately the playoff game where he had to become our running back.
It's a play they absolutely had to have. I mean, and because that game goes to overtime, my confidence in Clemson, finishing that game, was extremely low, and just a great play. I believe I'm on my last last play.
It should be your last one right here. Yep.
Yeah. So my number one play of the 2024 season, I don't think that it's any surprise. It's the same one as yours. The wink, the 56-yard field goal to win the ACC championship and send you to the college football playoff. Just ice cold water in Nolan Hoozer's veins. Just a phenomenal kick. Even crazier that you had to make it a 1 yard more difficult because of your field goal blocking issues throughout the season. And It didn't matter to him. That was probably good from 57, 58. And he just absolutely drilled it. Just the confidence to make that kick as a true freshman, and put Clemson in that position in the playoff. Just can't say too much about it. It just a phenomenal kick, going to go down in Clemson history.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's something I'm going to remember for a long time.
That's an unforgettable kick.
Yeah, extremely talented kicker. With everything, our frustrations with the field goal kicking were not stemmed from him, and that's at least comforting. With the struggles from last year, that Clemson, it feels like they have a really good kicker, and I think Nolan is going to leave here as one of the best to do it.
No doubt about it. He's just going to get better and more confident as his career goes, and if we can figure out how to protect, I think he'll have a very successful career as a Clemson Tiger.